Torah Life Ministries come out of the world. Messiah people seek the truth.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with doing a Daniel fast and eating only vegetables for a certain time or whatever, but using that as a lifestyle, I think, is scripturally inaccurate on a number of levels. Veganism, folks, is just a modern concept. It didn't exist up until recently. The 1960s. Walter, whatever his name is, came up with this thing, and they basically invented the word vegan, and veganism was born. It's a modern concept. There were no vegetarians, 100 years ago, 200 years ago. Folks, if you want to be a vegetarian, that's fine. Don't pretend to try and tell others that eating meat is not healthy. I see it oftentimes. A lot of these people in our movement, a lot of believers who are saying that the better way is to be a vegetarian, a better way is to not eat meat. At that point, you have lost touch with reality. And I'm not going to go along with that. I'm going to call it out. So,
hello everybody, this is Paul Neitz from Torah Life Ministries. I want to make a reply to a recent video that my friend Zach Bauer of New to Torah had made about the Daniel diet and being a vegetarian, and a couple of comments, the things he stated. And first, let me say I'm very excited and thrilled that people are talking more about this topic of eating meat versus not eating meat, and is it healthy or is it righteous, and so on. I think it's about time we started to focus more on these important issues that can benefit us today, and not just focus on things of the future that may happen, or our theories about that may happen, but really focusing on how we can persevere to get to those times, or just to survive in these times of today. And there were a couple of comments that were made, and I respect everyone's opinion, and I certainly respect Zach Bauer's opinion. I like his channel, I like his videos and things he has to say. And I also respect the fact that Zach is somebody who agrees to disagree with people often, and I take that point on many things as well. I agree to disagree with people. Most people will disagree with me on this particular topic, but I'm going to state it anyway because I understand a good amount about health and about food and diet and nutrition and health. So first thing I want to say is that when it comes to can we eat meat according to the Bible, I'm a vegetarian and I am a vegan. But the idea of can we eat meat according to the Bible, and nowhere in the Bible does it say it's a sin to eat meat. It's not a sin to eat animals. So anyone that claims it's a sin to eat animals, you're just wrong. It's just not in there. It's not a sin. With the definition of what sin is a transgression of the law, transgression of the Torah. It is not a sin to eat animals. On the same hand, it's not a sin to use a microwave oven, or to drink energy drinks, or to drink coffee, or to eat things that are genetically modified. It's not a sin to do a lot of things that aren't necessarily healthy for us. But it's not a sin to eat these things. My own personal story was after me getting sick at 19 years old with inflammatory bowel disease, I switched to a raw vegan diet, and I got better from my condition and helped many people get better from these conditions that doctors still don't have a cure for all over the world, by eliminating animal products altogether from their diets. After doing this for about 10 or 15 years or so, I decided to experiment with high quality meats, raw food, milk, and raw milk and raw eggs, and the higher quality meats that my friend Jordan Rubin used to make available through a company called Beyond Organic, which is just meat that you would raise yourself on a farm, that you just couldn't raise, you can't get commercially until Jordan started his company, as far as I knew, at least in the United States. Learning the difference between A1 and A2 milk, and just all these different products out there, and just how bad it is, the farming industry, and when it comes to the animals and everything that's done. Looking at it in a better way, that if you do it yourself, if you're farming yourself, you're raising the animals yourself, the milk's coming from, what that animal ate, where the milk's coming from, definitely a healthier level if you're going to go that route, without a doubt, and that's great. But after trying to experiment with that for several years and getting sick again, and going back to what kept me healthy all these years, back to the vegan diet, I started to just look more into this and everything else, and just continue to look into this. just because somebody is healthy by eating a vegetarian diet, or just because somebody's healthy by consuming meat, does not mean it's a panacea and everyone will be healthy. I say it all the time. I know vegetarians that are healthy, and I know vegetarians that are sick. I know meat eaters that are healthy, and I know meat eaters that are sick. And so there's so many more variables when it comes to our health than just is eating meat okay or is it allowed. And I talk about this in my videos about the other things that can contribute to our health, but also I like to focus on digestion. So taking the question out, is it sin or not sin to eat meat? First of all, it's not sin to eat meat, but it's also not commanded to eat meat. And the only time it is commanded is during the Passover, and there's controversy over that. But still, it's not sin to eat meat if you choose to eat it, but it's not a sin not to eat meat if you choose not to. So it's a personal choice of what we each decide. As for Zach saying or suggesting there were no vegetarians up to 100 years ago or no vegans, well, I invite everyone to look at the Bible in Genesis 1:29 in the Garden of Eden, which was more than 100 years ago. They were vegans. Without a question, without a doubt, they were vegans, and that was our Creator's initial idea for us to be. And I will say, in my viewpoint of looking at it, that when he gave us meat to eat, it wasn't a reward, it was almost a punishment. That's when man's age started to decline, and I will say it wasn't because they were eating meat, it was because they were disobedient. But the only reason, according to Scripture, we were allowed to begin to eat meat is because we got kicked out of the garden because of our disobedience. That's it. And there were no fruits and vegetables after the flood, and everything was underwater. So we had to eat meat for during that time. And the fact that man kept eating meat after that, and the lifestyle started to decrease and so on, it's not a sin to eat meat today, but the real question is it ideal for our health? And I will suggest to you that because man has corrupted the soil so much today, and man has corrupted the food that comes from that soil, you cannot get all the nutrients you need today on a pure vegetarian diet of just fruits and vegetables, because it's just not possible. And that doesn't mean our Creator made any mistakes. That means man has just taken what our Creator gave us and corrupted it, which is the historical pattern of man. And now, from a meat standpoint, again, you cannot survive on meat alone. You can't consume meat and get the nutrients you need. So somebody would suggest I'm saying, well, eat a combination of both and you'll get everything you need. Absolutely not. Neither one of them have what we need to survive. In my research, we can't survive on food alone. We need some sort of supplementation to make up what we're missing. And let me correct that. We can't survive. We can't thrive on just food alone. We need some sort of supplementation to add to what we're consuming. And the reason we eat today, and this is from many years of health experience and health teaching, the reason we eat today is not for nutrition, folks. We're eating for pleasure. That's why we eat today. And if you get your pleasure from eating a dead animal, then go ahead and do that. I will submit that nobody enjoys eating a dead animal. They enjoy eating the sauces and the steak sauces and everything else they're putting on that animal. And I suggest to you, if you really want to reduce disease coming on quickly, is instead of putting those sauces and those seasonings and flavorings on some type of animal that you're eating, instead put it on some fruit or vegetable and eat the fruit or vegetable if you really get the pleasure from those tastes. But it's not an animal. Nobody eats an animal by itself. Well, some people might, but for the most part, people aren't eating an animal and enjoying it. They're adding stuff to it. I don't know anyone who buys a chicken from the store or even kills their own chicken and cooks it and eats it. No, they add a whole bunch of stuff to it to enhance the pleasure of the flavor. And you don't have to do that with fruits and vegetables, folks. The flavor you get, the pleasure you get from the flavor is right in there. Of course, I take it. A fruit or vegetable that is unripe and unfresh and you buy it, it's not going to taste good. But if you're getting a fruit or vegetable that's in its right stage, organic, absolutely, you do not have to add anything to it to get the pleasure from it. So we're eating for pleasure. We're not eating for nutrition. Our nutrition has to come from, we can get some nutrition from the food, but we need to complete it with supplements. So what I'm getting at is, here's the choice we have. First of all, it's not a sin to eat meat. It's not a sin not to eat meat. You make that choice. That's up to you. In my experience, it's much healthier to keep the digestion working as best possible. And the more complicated food you put in your body, the more complicated it makes for your body to do the job it was designed to do. Eating meat and animal products is very complicated for the body to digest. And the fact that most people today eat meat and they overconsume, and gluttony is the real issue when it comes to meat. It's not the meat, it's the gluttony of it, because people don't have temperance today. But it comes down to this, folks. You can eat your meat and take supplements, or you can eat your fresh fruits and vegetables and take supplements. You can eat your dead animal and take supplements, or you can eat the fresh fruit that comes from nature, that grows on trees. And that's your choice, what you decide to do. For me, when Zach suggested in his video that people have been brainwashed by Disney movies to have compassion for animals, I say the opposite. People have been brainwashed to actually eat a carcass. I mean, I look at my baby and other babies, and I think nowhere in nature, before a man is brainwashed by society today, would they think of eating an animal. I mean, you could take any baby that's not been corrupted by the corruption of his parents, and you could put any fruit next to an animal, and the baby will pick that fruit as food and the animal as a pet, not the other way around. 100% of the times. The young child that hasn't been corrupted would not go to eat a dead carcass or a live carcass or any carcass. They'll go to eat the fresh fruit. They'll pick the carrot out of the ground, the apple off the tree. They wouldn't get a knife and kill an animal. And any baby or a child that did that, people would send them to the psychiatrist to think there was something wrong with them. But when they see their father doing it, or they see it in a movie, people think it's okay. You know, and as for Zach's comment that we just weren't able to get grow our food in certain seasons around the world, I would suggest to you, yes, for survival mode, anyone should be eating what they need to stay alive. I mean, if we can't get fruit or vegetables, eat an animal. Don't die for your beliefs. However, that argument isn't going to work today, because we live in a society today where no matter where we live around the world, we can get fruits and vegetables. We don't have to resort to eating animals. And so, you know, again, it's your personal choice what you decide to do. And the Bible's clear on it. It's not an issue of should we eat it according to the Bible. The Bible says, you know, make your choice and live with it. Live with the consequences. But when it comes to that we weren't able to be vegetarians or whatever, or people weren't at a certain amount of time, I'm looking at now, and I'm looking at what man has corrupted so much, everything, and the food and just everything about the animals and the drugs that are going into it. Some people say, well, what if you raise your own animals and eat your own animals? I will suggest to you, well, what if you grow your own fruit trees and eat your own fruit? Again, it comes down to what you decide to do. Do you want to eat a carcass or an apple? And I know people love the way animals taste. They say, oh, I love it. It tastes so well, you know. And if you eat the animal just for the animal, no, you're eating the stuff you're putting on that animal to make it taste so well and so great and everything else. But you do what you want to do. You decide what you want to do. I know I'm thriving on a vegan diet. And I know many people that are overcoming many serious illnesses by stop consuming animals. And I know Zach agrees with me that the average animals you can get from the store today are just horrible and just unhealthy, and people should be avoiding those things. And we should do our best to know where our food is coming from growing our own food, or even from raising our own food. If you decide to eat animals, raise it yourself or get it from somebody you know who is raising it. You know, I'm in agreement with that. You know, it's a much healthier option if you're deciding to consume animals. But do not believe that it's something we must do for health. There's no panaceas out there. The raw food diet or the vegan diet is not a panacea, and neither is eating meat. But don't deceive yourself just because you like the taste of something, or because you've been brainwashed to think you need a certain amount of protein or something else. We have to consider science. We have to consider the body. We have to consider health experiences. We have to consider the rise of disease and look at the facts of what true health is and what true health isn't. And we can't just make these suggestions. Now, Zach also had something to say about compassion for animals, that certain people don't eat animals because they have a compassion for animals, because some people don't want animals to be killed or to be slaughtered, or some people even suggest murdered. And because some people have compassion for animals, they don't want to eat animals. And Zach's claim that It seemed to me that he was suggesting that's why all vegetarians don't eat animals, is from a compassion standpoint. And first of all, there's nothing wrong with compassion, but I look at it more that many people are choosing a vegetarian diet and a vegan diet for health, because the facts are coming out about what causes disease and what prolongs disease and what cures disease versus just compassion. Compassion's not a bad thing, folks. It's not, but again, if my life's on the line and there's an animal, I'm going to eat the animal. But if I have so many options and I don't have to eat a carcass, I'm not going to choose to do that. And you make your choice. So I don't want anyone to be discouraged from thinking that they must eat meat to be biblically righteous, or they must consume meat to be healthy, or vice versa. You must be a vegetarian to be considered righteous, or you must be a vegetarian to be healthy. No, there are many other factors, but I dispute or go against the comments that Zach made, that number one, there weren't vegetarians 100 years ago. Number two, that you couldn't be a vegetarian in a certain amount of place or time, because that's irrelevant today, because we have the opportunity to do it today. And also, most people aren't in a situation Zach is in, where they can go and get and kill and make and eat their own food and raise their own food and so on. So if you want to get practical about, well, we couldn't get that food years ago because of the seasons, well, we could say today we don't have that option to do that today. And yes, everyone has the option to pick up, leave everything, and go live in the wild and kill their own animals and do that. Everyone has that option. But you also have the option to go live in the wild, get some land, and grow some fruit or grow some vegetables. And they actually did grow vegetables in the wintertime. There were many, it might not have been raw, but there were many root vegetables and grains that was stored away in stocks and soup stocks and so on that were made. And as for fish, yes, during biblical times, fish was consumed. If you live near an ocean anywhere in the world, most of the time, most of the people consume fish. But at the same time, the fish back then was completely different than the fish today. And on another note, before I finish this, there was a group of people at the time of Yeshua that were called Essenes. And the Essenes were eating a vegetarian diet. Some of them may have consumed milk, so I wouldn't say they were necessarily vegans, but they did not eat animals. Some would even suggest that's one of the reasons why they separated themselves from the whole biblical system of things, because they didn't want to eat animals. They wanted to avoid consuming the animal flesh and the animal meat for many different reasons that they had that. So again, there were vegetarians back then as well. And that was right there in the desert during the biblical times, just to let people know that it's not a new thing to not eat animals. Yes, the vegan thing, taken it to a extreme, especially the raw food diet, besides the raw foodists that were in the Garden of Eden and our Creator's original ideal and plan for man. And some would suggest the plan of the future in the kingdom to come would be that we would all be vegetarians. The lion and the lamb will be next together, and there won't be any killing of each other and so on. There'll be no fear of each other. So those Disney movies that Zach says are so brainwashing to children today, well, that might be something that we might see in the future. And I'm saying some people suggest that we will be vegetarians in the future. So I'm not making any claims about the future. I'm giving you a historical opinion about the past, and I'm also just giving you practical information for today. So, to all my friends out there, and including Zach, that you decide to eat meat and enjoy it, great. That's wonderful. And I do agree with you. Daniel was not a vegetarian. I say it often. He for the same reasons. He was just avoiding during that time eating the unclean food, or the food that wasn't holy, and he would even put his life on the line for it, not to defile his temple. If you do eat meat, I think it's okay and a good idea to take a break and just eat vegetables for a while, maybe 10 days, a 10-day vegetable fast. I think that'd be very wise. I think, a lot of people get confused on this topic, and the enemy tries to distract people from the higher goal of just being righteous to Torah and just trying to learn and be grounded and follow guidelines and instructions of our Creator. Whatever you decide to do with the food you put in your body, do it with wisdom, and do it with the highest degree of knowledge in terms of what is good for you and what's not good for you, and practicality too, of what we would be able to get. Because one of the things I look at is something called natural hygiene. And say, what would we be able to eat if we were alone in nature by ourselves, and there were fruits, if there were bananas in a tree and monkeys swinging around eating bananas? Would we desire to get those bananas, or would we desire to catch that monkey and eat it? That should tell us a lot. So I that's my response, and I don't do debates. I'll leave those up to other people that do debates. I don't do debates. I just wanted to reply to that so people didn't get the wrong idea. Number one, about what I believe about it, because I know people are asking me questions about this more than usual because of Zach's video, but also what I see and what I know about health. So I hope that helps you guys, and thank you, Zach, for just bringing up this topic and making a video about it. I think it's important and helpful. And for those of you that want more information on my health information, you can go to my website, healthwatchman.com, and you could check out more information on there about my health teachings, and also the YouTube channel. I got a Raw Life Health Show on YouTube. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great day, and go home and read your Bibles and eat a carrot. Have a good day.
Out of the world, oh my people, seek the truth, avoid the evil, learn Yahweh's ways. Torah Life Ministries, come out of the world.